I remember being pretty elated when I heard I was offered the part. It actually, the process to get Star Trek kind of happened where I heard that the Paramount and JJ were rebooting the series, and it was something that I was interested in. And for any part, I just wanted to be a part of it. And so I met with a bunch of the executives over at Paramount, and then I met with JJ, and I thought the meeting went terribly. I mean, I really, I went in there and sat down, and after literally a minute of banter, he goes, well, do you have any questions? And I'm like, yeah, really quite enthusiastic. He goes, yeah, I'd love to know, what's the story, what's the script, what are you going to do? And he goes, I can't tell you. And I sat there going, huh. Well, I guess I've got no questions. And we sat there and looked at each other for a beat, and he's like, okay, well, thanks for coming in. And I'm like, great. And I walked out going, come on. I could have asked him one question. Anyway, about a month or two later, I got invited to test for the character of McCoy, Dr. McCoy, which I was thrilled about, because to me, the character of McCoy was, one of the sort of the core members of that original cast, and sort of formed that, key important element in the triumvirate between, Kirk and Spock. And so I went in there, and I had literally the year before just watched pretty much the entire box set of the original series with my son. And so I didn't go back and watch it again. I'd seen it, and I felt familiar enough with it to take the essence of what I knew to be the character and give JJ, my interpretation of that. And so I sat down and started doing the scene, and literally it was like, a couple of 30 seconds into it, and I hear this laughter, and I'm thinking, what the hell is he laughing at? And it threw me, because I hadn't done theatre for a while, and it suddenly dawned on me that he was laughing at what I was doing, which is the point. It almost threw me so much to the point where I almost forgot my lines. Thankfully I didn't, and we got to the end of that take, and he goes, oh my gosh, that's it, that's Bones. And he sort of looks behind at Brian Burke, who's one of the producers, who's already on his BlackBerry. We got the guy.
I have a question about Dredd. Did you watch or study the Stallone version for examples of what not to do?
I'll take the fifth. No, here's the thing. I saw the Stallone version when it came out in the cinema, 92 or whatever it was, 94, I can't remember. And while, to me, obviously, the choices they made on that film went in a different direction than than the comic book character that I was used to. There were still elements of it that to me were pretty cool, like Mean Machine was pretty cool, and other elements that escape my mind. Mean Machine was really cool, but no, it was a different, tonally it was a completely different film. I mean, to me it's like even, hard to compare the two, because ours was ultra-violent, a lot more realistic, and sort of, that was kind of really a product of, the Stallone version was a product of its time, which was, something a bit more popcorn cartoony, a bit, Tim Burton was making Batman movies, or was it Joel Schumacher with the fluoro? I mean, it was just, the way that they now treat comic book movies is completely different than the way they did in the 80s and the early 90s. Where there's now sort of more of a focus on really embedding those characters in a real world, which to me is really interesting, because that's where the whole thing kind of started. If you look at Chris Reeves' Superman, they shot that, I believe, in New York, and the thing that really worked about it was that they kind of really incorporated that real world sensibility, and that's definitely what Chris Nolan did so successfully well in his Batman movies. Yeah, well, it was an interesting process. I just finished working with JJ on Trek 2, and he and his producing partner Brian Berg started talking to me about this project that they had, and it's sounded really interesting to me, material, and then I read the script and was immediately drawn to not only the character of John Kennicks, but his relationship with this artificial intelligence. To me, it was interesting, and I thought that it would be a challenge, and it wasn't something that I had done before. And I'm always looking for new ground and new challenges. So I guess it was a combination of the fact of the character of the story, working again with JJ, collaborating with him on something, and that was sort of a factor in the choices that sort of led to me signing on. And it was an interesting one. While I enjoyed the experience of working with that cast and crew, the actual shooting schedule for a 1-hour drama like that was pretty brutal. And that's not something they tell you before you sign on. By the way, you're going to have no life. No, it was. We were working in the end. We were working 6 days a week, sometimes up to 17 hours a day. And you know what? That's standard on television. A lot of people don't realize that you see these TV shows, those actors really work their butts off on those shows.